Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Smelly Sweet. In today's episode I'm going to talk to you about the most underrated house in my collection. That is a great headline. I don't know if it's true because it can be the most overlooked house as well, but that depends on how you want to look at it. Because when I start this journey, well, let me just say it is about Jo Malone. I'm going to talk to you about today. Jo Malone London. You impatient bastards out there. So before you shut me off, hit the subscribe button and give a thumbs up. Comment down below, which house do you think is the most underrated house out there? No. The reason I think it is overlooked is because when I started this and watching all those YouTube reviewers, reading all the reviews online and so on, everybody was complaining and talking about the poor performance the fragrances had. I think that sometimes you just need to ignore the performance, longevity and projection and stuff like that, and just focus on the scents, because the scents of Jo Malone is really great. I have 8 bottles of them in front of me. Some are my wife's, some are for me, but they are really great, each and one of them. And I don't think they have any issues with performance or longevity, because I do know a lot of other brands out there that even are heftier at the price point than Jo Malone, with worse projection and worse longevity and worse performance, overall performance. So I usually just went straight by the brand Jo Malone in the shops, but one day I stopped just to look a little bit, because I thought bottles were quite good looking, and I got my nose on this one, Velvet Rose and Oud by Jo Malone, and I instantly fell in love with this one. The rose, the sweetness, the oud. You do get the rose from the start, and then the sweetness kicks in. The sweetness is a praline note that adds that sweetness to it. And I asked my wife, what do you think about this one? And she felt the same way. So we picked it up and went home, and we were very, very happy with the purchase of this one. So this is a unisex fragrance. It is wearable by girls, men, boys, women, everybody. So I don't think there are any limits on this one. This one is great versatility when it comes to that point. I wouldn't use it in the high summer heat or daytime. This for me is a night evening scent. Longevity wise, I do get around 9 hours out of it. Projection wise, 1.5 hours. You do get a quite 2 to 3 meter projection at least. So this one we were very happy with. So we went home. Before we go further, Jo Malone fragrances, what it says on the bottle is what you get. If it says Velvet Rose and Oud, that is what you can expect to get. And another thing that is really great with Jo Malone is that they are very simple to layer and combine with one and each other. But it's also simple to combine them with other brands. So before that out of the way, when we came home and we smelled this one, we thought, man, we need to go back to that store and smell a whole lot of other stuff. So we did that, and my wife fell in love with this one, Waterlily. Even if they are all listed as unisex, I do feel that this one is a little bit too feminine for me to pull off, but at the right time, at the right circumstances, I'm sure I could pull this off as well. But I'm starting to explore a little bit, starting to combine this with some other fragrances that are leaning a little bit more masculine, to see if I find a balance where it makes it more unisex than I think it is. Longevity wise, 6 hours. Projection wise, you do get 1.5 to 2 meters projection for 1 hour. And I think that is pretty good for a light floral fragrance that this one is. That was my wife's first pick for her own. My first pick for myself was this one, Bronze, Wood and Leather. And if you have seen this, if you have been to this channel before, you do know that I really appreciate leather in the fragrances. And here you do get bronze wood and leather. Bronze wood, I do think it means that it is giving that little bit of an smoky vibe to it. So you do get some smoky leather out of this one. And here is one that I already have found a match made in heaven with. And that is Chanel Allure Homme Edition Blanche. I mean, 4 sprays of this one big spray of this one, combined with a tiny little bit just to give it that little extra oomph. It's a match made in heaven, and the silage you get is amazing. 3 sprays around my neck, 1 on my hand, and I do 1 big spray of that one back of my neck and 1 tiny in front of my neck, and I gain compliments, man. We always talk about compliments, that it is YouTube reviewers talking about, that it is this is the compliment getter and so on, and when we go out, people don't get compliments. Well, people do know that I'm into fragrances, so it's more likely that they will approach me and compliment me for my fragrances at work, at home, with my wife. She is the biggest judge of me if my fragrances, but also my family, friends and family. So that one has gained me compliments from friends and family and wife. I haven't been able to pull it off at work yet, but I'm starting to work later on today, so let's see. Anyway, that one I bought. So we bought one together as well at that point, and that was wood, sage and sea salt. And this one we keep fighting about, because bronze wood on leather I bought for me, Waterlily my wife bought for her. This one we bought together, and we keep fighting about it. We do use the same fragrances from time to time, it's just that we don't want to use the same fragrance at the same time. But it's gone so far that I tried to hide it one day so she wouldn't use it, so I could come home later on and pick it up and use it myself. But it is great. Longevity wise, you do get 6 to 7 hours out of it. Projection wise, you do get a quite good projection for 2 to 3 meters for 1.5 to 2 hours. No, we stopped at that point. We thought that we had bought enough, so we went home again, and 1.5 week later on we went to the store again for a whole nother reason. But at this point the lady that worked in the shop recognized us, and she said, "Oh, you must try this one." And she came up with lime, basil and mandarin, and yes, it was a home run. It really is. Yet again, it says lime, basil and mandarin. That is what you get. Not necessarily in that order, because I do pick up on the mandarin first before that starts to fade, and the lime comes through, and then the basil comes through. And yet again, this one is justified to be accused of not having the greatest performance. You get 4 hours out of it, but a weak projection. But it is so amazing, the scent, so I don't mind reapplying. The only one thing that I regret is that we just bought a 30 ml out of it. And one fragrance my wife also bought at that time was the blackberry and bay. And here you do get the blackberry. That is really prominent, and that is right up my wife's alley, this fragrance. She really loves it. I love it on her. Projection wise isn't the greatest either. 1 hour you do get 1 to 2 meters projection. Longevity wise 4 to 5 hours. But we recently bought this one, Myrrh and Tonka, and this one combined with that one lifts this one up to a whole new level. I do feel that Myrrh and Tonka is also one that is leaning a little bit more feminine to me. So when she combines these two, it is a blackberry pie feeling I get out of it. This one, however, the projection of this one and the longevity of this one is ridiculous. Longevity wise, 10 plus hours. Projection wise, man, my wife, when she wears it on her, she fills up a room for at least 2 hours, man. And that combined with this one, yes, she gets noticed when she wears that combination. So I also felt that I wanted something that I could combine my fragrances with. So I went with Vetiver and Golden Vanilla. And I do feel that this one, you do have some sweetness in both those fragrances. I've seen people saying that they remind of each other, but I do feel that the Murren Tonka is leaning a little bit more feminine. The Vetiver Golden Vanilla is leaning a little bit more masculine. And I've actually done 2 combinations today. On this hand I have Vetiver and Golden Vanilla and the Velvet Rose and Oud. And now I do pick up on the Velvet Rose and Oud quite much, but the vanilla in the background, so it's a great combination. On this one I do have wood, sage and sea salt and bronze wood and leather, and what a home run this one was, man. 1 spray of that one, 2 sprays of this one. The first time I ever tried this one. Man, that was a home run. That's a new combination I will try out in public soon, so I can see if I get some head turners. Anyway, that was all for today about this Jo Malone fragrance. I will come back to you all about a little bit more in-depth reviews about those fragrances. I'm starting to preparing an episode called The Most Overrated House in my collection, but before I do that episode, I need to do an episode about my meeting with Sweetoft. I met the nose behind the brand, the owner of the brand I believe, alongside with the manager, the CEO of the brand, and that was really educational. Both in the fragrance, that's what we talked about, but also I found out a whole lot of stuff about YouTubers and how YouTube reviewers work, man, and it's pretty disgusting to me. I knew that companies were sending out stuff to fragrance reviews to talk about, but I did not expect reviewers to be that kind of douchebags. There are good boys, there are good girls and boys out there, but there are some fucking deluded boys and girls out there as well. I will come back to that in the next episode. Don't get your hopes up. I won't give any names away, because for me to doing that feels a little bit wrong, and I do need more solid proof to do that. But until the next time, stay safe everybody. Bye.